Hello and welcome back to Third Culture Africans. I'm Zeze, your host and the voice behind Third Culture Africans. Welcome to a space where culture, success, and inspiring journeys collide. Whether you're a dream chaser, a culture enthusiast, or just looking for your daily dose of inspiration, you're in the right place.
Thank you. I don't think we've ever had an episode like this. So to anyone listening, run to those comments, give us those 5 stars, because this is probably the best episode you're getting this season. Along with this episode, we as a team decided that we want to put our mouths where our action is. And we spent the last, 53 episodes bringing the stories of entrepreneurs across the globe of African heritage into your ears while you go on your walk, into your living rooms, and wherever else you listen to the show. And one of the things that struck me was the power of storytelling and how that has been a force for change. And very few people understand how storytelling, 1, works, but 2, what it can do in your daily lives. Knowledge gap is probably one of the biggest issues we face as a continent and even as a people across the globe. And so Third Culture Africans hopes to continue to bridge that gap and bring digestible content. And so we've launched our ebook, Unveiling Success, The Art of Storytelling, which you can get for free. It includes some exercises. And I'd love to read an excerpt from the ebook before I introduce our 2 guests who have also made their life's work around storytelling. Stories have always been the heartbeat of African culture. Passed down from generation to generation, they've preserved our traditions, articulated our dreams, and conveyed our aspirations. In this chapter, or in this book, when you get it, we explore the rich heritage of storytelling in African culture and how it continues to bind us together even in the fast-paced digital age. In an era dominated by technology and digital distractions, the art of storytelling remains a timeless and profoundly vital tradition. Storytelling has been intrinsic to human culture for millennia, serving as a medium for preserving heritage, imparting wisdom, and connecting people across generations. African storytelling in particular has a rich and diverse tapestry that continues to captivate the world. Despite the proliferation of digital content, the importance of storytelling in the modern age cannot be overstated. And on that note, I would love to introduce our first guest on this week's episode. She needs very little introduction because I think last time I checked, she probably has one of the largest African shows on Netflix, targeted at the African millennial woman. And that is none other than a good friend of mine who was also on season 1, Arese Ugwu, the smart money woman herself.
Thank you for the kind introduction.
No worries, friend. My next guest needs also no introduction, purely because I think anyone, and it wasn't intentional for this to be all about women, but I think in the narrative of African storytelling, I think women have played a huge part in shaping our history and how we see ourselves. Those stories that get told to you at bath time or at bedtime have all fostered the creation and the imagination in all of our minds. My next guest is the founding member and chair of African Women on Board and currently sits on the board of Relais Gallery and Girly Essentials. She has a doctorate from the University of California, Berkeley, a master's from the University College London. She went to school, Sha. plenty school, a law degree from the University of Manchester, and has been called to the bar in England, Nigeria, and New York. She is none other than Nkiru Balonwu.
So that's how you know that I didn't give you that bio. So yeah, because I would never give that. I'm just Nkiru, and I'm actually here representing Africa Soft Power.
Yes,
As
we'll
opposed
talk
to
about that.
African women on board. But I think the point is, I believe that women and young people are Africa's biggest opportunity, and we haven't done anything about those two demographics. So that's what I've done.
Thank you. We are going to get to soft power, but let's at least get them hooked in on the episode. So by the time they hear all the books you've read, they'll know that you're going to talk.
They gave me when I got here. Someone offered me champagne, and so you see that there's a problem.
We're good hosts. We're good hosts. This is what the show is about. Trust me, someone is probably drinking a glass of something while they're listening to this episode, so we're in the right mood. I think starting off with an episode where we have 3 strong women, and for the most part, both of you have worked incredibly hard in shaping the narrative, so to speak, whether that's the narrative of being African, the narrative of being a woman, and the narrative of being an African woman today, and also the narrative of being African in general in a world that is connected so much so by technology. Arese, I think for you, everyone knows Smart Money Woman, eagerly awaiting season 2. You probably wanted to break Netflix when you released the season, and it was very important for you to have the show go out on a platform like that. I remember us having many conversations, but I would love to invite, I guess, you to hopefully share why it was so important to have the show air on a free platform.
So this whole thing started by accident. I had gone through like a divorce and personal challenges myself. And I basically started thinking, who's talking to women like me about the financial challenges that you go through when, you go through those hard things? So I started thinking, if I wrote a book, what does that look like? Is it financial literacy 101? Is it an ABC thing? Is it, boring, or is it interesting? And I like stories. I grew up reading like a lot of books and watching a lot of movies. And I wanted to write something that I would read. So it started out as a book, a story of 5 African girls, their pain points when it came to money, business, all of that, love, family. And it had small money lessons at the end of each chapter. Luckily, people really fell in love with it and this is why storytelling is powerful, because finance is something that's boring. Usually people don't love it, but people fell in love with these characters because they could see themselves in the stories. They could see their friends in the stories. And then it's coming on a platform like Netflix made it so much bigger, because I had written the book, gone on a book tour to several African countries. And then people started saying, I could totally see this as a movie. I could totally see this as a movie. And then we started developing it. And it first went on Africa Magic, and then we put it, on Netflix, or we fought to put it on Netflix. Believe it or not, with the success that it had, the first time they rejected it. They said, sorry, we don't think that this is going to do well, like, commercially, because people are not going to be that interested in a book that is about financial literacy. But they were wrong. So it's important for us to tell the stories that we want to see told, and to try to get them on as big platforms as we can.
Helping you be smart with your money and finances is something we take pride in at Third Culture Africans. That's why we've partnered with Quidco, UK's #1 cashback platform, helping people to get something extra every time they shop online With cashback earnings on over 5,000 brands, all you need to do is browse or search Quidco for great cashback rates, huge discounts and vouchers at all of your favorite brands, and get a £15 new bonus credit when you join with our link. Earning cashback on your online shopping is easier than ever. Just hit the link below.
Thank you. Nkiru, let's jump into Africa Soft Power. And I guess for you, like Arese, it was having the conversations, or most importantly, the African perspective in global conversations that was important. What was the inspiration behind you coming up with Africa Soft Power, most importantly?
Thanks. So before I talk about Africa Soft Power, I just wanted to sort of do that. I just think it's really important that we give praise and credit to women who are doing phenomenal things. So to you as well. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
But I want to say the whole idea, and I know that I'm supposed to talk about Africa Soft Power, but I just thought it was really important to talk about financial literacy and why it's so important for us as women. So, I mean, I have a doctorate, as has been said, but I realized for a long time that I'm actually not financially literate, or as literate as I could be. And so it's one of the most important. So when people are talking about development issues, it's usually a focus on financial inclusion, which is really, really important. I'm sorry because I know you want to talk about ASB, but I want to talk about you and your work. It's really important. But I think most women around the world, and particularly Black women, are actually not, some people are included, but even the most educated women are not literate. So when you compare us to men who are our peers, we don't know jack. And so we're not building, we're not investing, we're not, our money is not growing. And I think maybe it goes to the root. I always say, because I've done some work on financial literacy, that it goes to how we were raised as women and as Black women and as African women, that, you get your money is for buying things, little things here and there. And you're supposed to get married to this rich guy who's going to take care of all your needs and all of that stuff. And then forgetting that things happen. So maybe you don't get married to a rich guy. Maybe you don't do this. Maybe, I know, sorry, I'm going off. But I thought it was really important to celebrate the work on financial literacy and why it's so, so important that we get literate. I think the reason that Africans are we're way behind is not because we're not, we don't understand money. And even this whole conversation around women equality, women equity, all of that stuff has a lot to do with finances. There's no problem if you have money. Men respect you if you have money. Nobody's going to beat you if you have money. So it's really, I think, such a critical issue. And so I don't want to sort of say, Africa's for power first, because this for me is one of the most important things of our time. We need to be, financially literate. We need to understand money. We need to understand the power of money, even as Africans. And now going to soft power. The reason that the continent is where it is because money. The reason America is where it is because money. So literally all boils down to money. So as Africans, as Nigerians, as Black people, it's really about the commercials of it. And so that's why, again, sort of celebrating you on great work that you're doing, and thanks for all of that stuff. For ASB, we started Africa Soft Power during the pandemic. So I did go to Berkeley, and in terms of soft power, so the first time I got to California, I grew up with the American dream, and if you're I wanted to be American. Nigeria was, but you know how we all grew up. I don't know about how old everybody in the room is, but we grew up with American accents. We wanted so badly to be American. That was the thing. If you were American, so MTV or everybody had an American accent, even if you had never left the country. So that was us. And so when I went to California the first time, I happened to land at Berkeley. And I didn't land in a nice area. I got to this place, and it was like the student hostel type area. And I was like, there's weed. I could smell weed everywhere. And I'm like, what the hell? This is America. What? And you know how, when you come to Nigeria, you're like, how Nigeria is. But the America I knew was everything was so like, planes everywhere, everything was like high tech. And I got in the middle of the hood. And I'm like, but it was cool, it was fine. And it's just how Americans have always told the American story. So I grew up watching Hollywood movies. And the American soldiers come and save everybody. And so America always wins. And then there's even I knew the American anthem. Just literally, I just so wanted to be American. But what was the African dream? What was that dream? Who are we? How did we sell our stories? It was always stories, all the horrible, horrible stories of poverty, of all of those things. First, there was so much poverty when I went to America. Like when I was like, what? This is California? California, a whole California. And I was seeing all sorts of things that I had never seen in my whole life. Because obviously I grew up a little posh, And I was like, this is America. And yet they sold the story of, all this amazingness. And I'm like, why are we as Africans not selling the story of amazingness? Look at Polo Club, look at this. Look at that, it's beautiful. We have so much amazingness. There's great things everywhere, there's horrible things everywhere. And so how can we tell those stories? And so during COVID, and I'd written my thesis at Berkeley was about Nollywood and the power of storytelling. Is art imitating life or life imitating art? And so what time as COVID, when Netflix, as we're talking about Netflix was everywhere. It was like about the wars, the tech wars, the content wars, and all we had was content. And I was like, this is the time for Africa soft power. And what are we as Africans proud of? How are we celebrating ourselves? How are we celebrating our music, our fashion, our everything about us, hair, color, skin, all of those things. And that's how Africa soft power started.
Amazing.
If you've loved this episode or any of the episodes from Third Culture Africans, your support in making the show bigger will be much appreciated. Share it with a friend, comment on social media, join the newsletter community over at thirdcultureafricans.com, or leave us a review where you're listening to the show. Thank you, and until next time.